Jordan with Jordan Plays Blue, and I'm here with a Kickstarter preview of Zoo Vadis from my friends over at Bitewing Games. This is an older Reiner Knizia game, from what I understand, from the early 90s called Quo Vadis, which I've never played before, never even knew it existed, but now I have played this version, and this one has a similar theme. I guess that one was ancient Rome or Roman kind of stuff, and this one is a zoo, obviously. And this one, you are trying to, okay, so thematically, you are animals in the zoo. So there's different factions. You could be the marmosets, you could be the tigers, you can be the hyenas, you can be the ibises, all sorts of rhinos, all sorts of weird creatures. And you are controlling this animal faction, and in the zoo, you are trying to travel around the zoo in order to collect votes and kind of wield influence amongst the other animal sects. And as the game is going on, you're trying to move from pen to pen in the zoo. And in order to move, you have to have so many votes. And as you're trying to get to these votes, you're making bribes and negotiating with other people for future votes and things like that. Once you reach to the top pen, once that pen is filled up, everybody's going to count up how many points or votes that they've collected, and that person becomes the mascot and the most powerful animal in the zoo. So, how does this work? Let's check it out. So in Zoo Vadis, you have this board. This is going to be a central board that everybody's going to be playing off of. The bottom of the board is where the animals are entering, and they're trying to make it up to this top section of the board that has the main pen, and all the animals are trying to get up there throughout the game. Each of the pens is going to have a different number of spots, and those spots are going to correspond with the number of votes that you need in order to move up. All of the pens are going to have an odd number of spaces in them. So you have to have a majority of votes in order to kind of rule that pen and move out of it. Each of the pens is the number of spaces in there is going to dictate those votes. So if a pen with 3 is going to require 2 votes, a pen with 5 is going to require 3 votes, and so on. That's important to know when it comes to movement throughout the game. It's not the majority of animals present, it's the majority of the spaces in the pen. Also along the board, you'll see these different token spaces, and those are going to be tokens that you're collecting as you're moving around. And then there's also the zookeeper that is moving around as well to let people or let the animals move around a little bit more freely. So on your turn, you're going to take one action. It's a pretty snappy game. You can take a placement action where you're going to put an animal on one of the starting pens along the bottom. As long as there's a free space, you just take one of your animals, put it down there. Nice and easy. The second action you can take is move your animal. In order to move your animal, you have to move it to a connecting pen, progressing up the board, of course, along these paths. And in order to move, you must have majority in that pen. So if you are in a pen with 5 spaces, you must have 3 votes in order to get there. Of course, all of your animals are going to vote for you. And if you don't have enough animals there, you're going to have to bribe the other animals. If there are peacocks there, peacocks are not controlled by a certain player. They're kind of a computerized robot player. And you can always bribe peacocks for 2 chips, a value of 2 chips. The other players, you can bet or you can negotiate with them any way you want, giving them money, giving them the votes, giving them your special bonus token that allows them to use a special action on on their turn as well. So that's allowing those negotiations are going to give you those votes, and then those votes are going to allow you to move up. Whenever you move to another pen, if you cross over any of those tokens, you get to take those. Those are probably going to be points at the end of the game for you. You can also use those to, they're not always going to be points because you could be trading and wheeling and dealing with other players and pass those around, but they are worth points at the end. Another action you can use is just move a peacock. You can move a peacock from one space to another between the pens. You don't get to collect any of the tokens that you pass over, but whenever you take that action, you do take a single chip, point chip from the supply, just kind of as a consolation. And that allows you to kind of rearrange some of the places. Peacocks just kind of clog things up, as peacocks do, obviously. And then also you can move the zookeeper around. Zookeepers move between pens. Zookeepers allow you to move. If there's a zookeeper next to your pen, you can, on a path that you want to travel on, you can move along that path to the next pen without having to have majority. So that's a quick way to move around. However, you cannot pick up that bonus chip in between. So that's kind of the downfall of there. As you're moving through all of these spaces, you're going to make it up to the top, the main space up, the main pen at the top. Depending on when you enter, you're going to put yourselves on the numbered spaces. Those number spaces are going to allow you to have a tiebreaker if there's a tie in number of points. Once that pen is filled up with the correct number of animals, the game ends. Everybody counts up how many points they have, and the person with the most points becomes the mascot of the zoo. So that's a little bit about how Zoo Vadis works with some photos. This one is an interesting game. It feels unlike many other games I've played. The negotiation is can be very free form, similar to a game maybe like Chinatown, where literally the rules just kind of say negotiate, bribe, trade, that kind of thing. The Zoo Vadis has that same similar feel, but the movement aspect is very unique as you're trying to move up this board and collect those votes, and as you're kind of slowly negotiating as you're going through, but also jockeying for those places. So very interesting game. This one also has a wonderful production. I don't have a final production copy, obviously. This is a prototype copy where the box size is a little wonky, but as you saw in the photos, the production value is going to be very high in here. It's going to have wonderful cloth bags. It's going to have these really chunky animal pieces. The chips, like those kind of poker chip ones, are a little weighted, almost Splendor-like in the way that they're designed. So this one's going to have a very high production value. The game plays very quickly. The box says 20 to 40 minutes. I've played some games at lower player counts that were very quick. I played some games with higher player counts that were a little bit longer, just depending on how the play style of the players is. Sometimes there might be people that just are being jerks and blocking things, and there might be some players that are racing to the top and not necessarily worrying about that negotiating. They just want to get all their pieces to the top and try to end the game as quickly as possible. So there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. So yeah, interesting game. Great artwork also from Quanchai Moria, and great production from Bitewing, which they, I hope, are becoming known for, because they've only done a couple games, and this is their a big production game, which has been really wonderful. So that's Zoo Vadis. If you're interested in my opinions on it, check it out on Instagram over at Jordan Plays Blue. I'll share some of my opinions over there. But as a preview, I hope you learned a little bit about this game. And if it's something that you're interested in, Kickstarter is, at the time of this, is live now. Or maybe if you're checking it out later, there's a late pledge, or check it out at their web store. All right? So, Zoo Vadis by Reiner Knizia and Bitewing Games. I'm Jordan. Thanks.